Just think about the rankings a little bit. So out of 14 teams, Georgia finished 10th. Well, they had a true freshman quarterback. 2017, Georgia finished 12th with 176 yards a game. Well, they had a true freshman quarterback. 2018, Georgia finished 8th. And there was an uptick, 226 yards a game. Still not a lot, but it's 226, and they finished 8th. Smack dab, right in the middle of the conference. Actually, they're half of it. They're bottom 7. 2019, this is a high water mark, and I want you to keep track of these numbers here. Georgia rocketed all the way to 5th in the conference in passing yards, with 3 fewer passing yards than they had the year before when they ranked 8th. So understand that it went 10th, 12th, 8th, 5th, but the passing game didn't actually get better. The ranking improved, but the passing game was still what it was. I'll come back to it. This season with Dan, what do they got? 2 regular season games? Is it Missouri and who? Yeah, they got 2 regulars. Vanderbilt.
Yes. Yeah. Vanderbilt this week, yes.
With 2 regular season games remaining, Georgia ranks 10th in the SEC. They're actually averaging 224 yards passing per game, which is 1 yard more than last year when they ranked 5th. So the ranking needs a little bit of an explanation because Georgia went 10th, 12th, 8th, 5th, 10th. The 2019 season where the ranking is 5th, but the passing yardage is actually less than this year when Georgia is 10th in the conference, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. And the first clue is the yardage total is basically the same as the season before and the season after, only a much higher ranking. Okay, how? Of the 9 teams that UGA finished ahead of in passing yards in 2019, 4 started true freshman quarterbacks, 4 fired their head coach, 1 played the final 7 games with a wide receiver at the position. That's what it took for UGA to finish that high rankings-wise. The actual number didn't fluctuate almost at all. When you have recruited the position at the historically high level that Kirby and the staff has, these results are because of coaching, not because of the kids. And it's really not acceptable. Now, I told you, I ain't got an answer for you. How he can recruit 5-star, 5-star, 5-star. I think it's 4 5-stars and 3 4-star. And I'm counting Jake Fromm, and he was kind of on the fence, but 24/7, they kind of boiled it down, and there were 2 of the major services that had him as a 5-star. Whatever. But I think it's 4 5-stars and 3 4-star quarterbacks, I think. And I tell you, I ain't got an answer. But strangely, I can give you Kirby's answer. Here's you, because I was giving you UGA's ranking in the conference in passing yards. Kirby would respond, well, here's UGA's ranking in the conference in wins over each of the past 5 seasons. 2016, Georgia finished 4th in the SEC, and that's not a category, it's divisions, I know, but I just looked at the whole conference, lined them up 1 through 14. While Georgia finished passing yards 10th, 12th, 8th, 5th, 10th, Georgia has finished in wins in the SEC 4th, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. And he's right. It just appears that there is a regular season-based ceiling to his approach. And the goal is not a bunch of regular season wins, because what was Georgia doing before Kirby ever came to town? Winning a bunch of regular season games. Greg McGarity, the now outgoing AD in Athens, he said as much. Fired Mark Richt in a season where Georgia finished with 10 wins. Fired Mark Richt because he lost to Florida. How do I know that? Because he won all 4 November games in 2015. Which tells me that Greg McGarity, and by the way, bravo. It tells me that Greg McGarity said, we're Georgia. You think we care about beating Georgia Southern and Kentucky and Georgia Tech? We don't care about that. We care about winning titles. And so, yes, in a season where Georgia, they wound up beating Penn State in the bowl game and finished, I believe, 10-3. McGarry's like, I don't care about that. The worst thing you can do is cite regular season wins as proof of success or justification for a move that has been made. There is a regular season-based ceiling to the Kirby approach. Look at the playoffs last year. Do you know who the 4 starting quarterbacks in the playoffs were? 3 Heisman finalists and the coming draft's first overall pick. 3 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks and this year's first overall selection. You win titles by having game records at quarterback. You win a pile of regular season games, and I mean a pyramid, a pile of regular season games by running the ball, playing defense, letting the air out of the thing, working some special teams, occasionally going off play. That's how you win a bunch of regular season games when you recruit at the level that Kirby does. But it's not about regular season games. It's not even about divisions. You know who cites, like Tennessee right now, we won the East Division championship. I remember my school back, what year was it, 2000 or 2001? It's whatever year I was going to the SEC title game, and I got my Auburn stuff on. Hey, you think you can win today? I was walking in, and there's a Florida fan that I knew a little bit, and we had kind of, met up a little bit. Think y'all can win today? I said, you have Rex Grossman, I have Ben Leard. Well, there's more than a quarterback, and I swear, my hand to the Lord, I looked at him, and it just involuntary. I said, no, there's not. When it's like Tua and Kyle Trask, for instance, squaring off, all right, now it's more than a quarterback. When you got Rex, and no disrespect, Ben Leard started a quarterback for a division champ. I never did anything like that. So there's no disrespect, but I'm not comparing him to me. I'm comparing him to Rex Grossman. Do you know how great Rex Grossman was? Florida fans were looking at Spurrier around the end of the 99, 2000. Well, I guess we're not going to win national championships anymore. We may not even win SEC championships. What's wrong with our program? He goes up to Indianapolis, gets this high school quarterback. Whammo, SEC champs again. It is the quarterback if you're going to win something of substance, and that ain't possible in September, October, or November.
Wow, guys, this is quite the holiday feast you're making.
With all the money we've been saving with Navy Federal, I figured we'd go all out. Right, kids?
Yeah, I'm making candied yams.
And I'm helping with the turkaloinster.
The what?
It's turkey stuffed with tenderloin and lobster.
Uh-huh.
Dad, which end do the claws go?
With a low intro APR, $150 bonus cash, and 1.5% cash back on all purchases, the Cash Rewards credit card helps you put more happy in your holidays. Apply now at NavyFederal.org. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission.
You can now watch The Chuck Oliver Show, streaming live on Twitch. Stream the full show live on Chris Landry's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football. It's live video of the King as he breaks down this unprecedented college football season and gets you the latest breaking news as things continue to develop. The Chuck Oliver Show, live on Twitch at twitch.tv/Chris Landry Football.
We cannot know true bravery until knowing fear. There are healthy fears that keep us safe, but many fears hold us back and steal our joy. What can we do? We can move from fear to stepping out in courage through a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. The Bible tells a story of Jesus walking on water in the midst of a storm. The disciples were terrified, but at the sound of his voice, they were comforted. It's often the same with us. Are you afraid of what's next and unsure you're going to make it? Is your fear keeping you from taking that step of faith? Maybe that step involves a career change or repairing a broken relationship. Until we learn to overcome our negative fears, we won't live the victorious lives that God has for us. May you have faith to overcome your fears. This is Bryant Wright, speaking right from my heart.
Visit rightfromtheheart.org and click About Us to learn more about this non-denominational ministry.
Here's farmer and landowner John Prue. We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's
our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
If you suffer from COPD symptoms like shortness of breath and fatigue, where do you turn? There are medications and oxygen, but do you know about pulmonary rehab? 3 out of 5 COPD patients have never heard of it. Pulmonary rehab is an exercise, education, and support program that gives you tools to manage your condition, and Medicare typically pays for it. So whether it's grocery shopping on your own or just walking across the room, pulmonary rehab can help you. Visit livebetter.org to find out about your options for pulmonary rehab today.
Catch the king of college football no matter where you go with a new Southern Sports Today app. Catch the best college football conversation in the South everywhere with the SST live stream and daily podcast. Downloaded now at the App Store and the Google Play Store. Now more of the best college football talk in the country. It's the Chuck Oliver Show.
We won 3 SEC games. I think anytime you win 3 SEC games and you're scheduled right in the preseason, that's equals anywhere from 6 to 7, and absolutely, and I think we will. I think we deserve it.
All right, that's Sam Pittman, head hog, and I was with him at the first of that cut. I was with him at the end. I don't know what the heck he was doing. I don't know what that math is in the middle. The 3, and if you schedule right, that's 6 or 7. What? So I'm just going to stick with the part that I really understood because Sam's math left me wanting. But the Arkansas Razorbacks right now, as he was referencing, they sit at 3-5. I believe they only have 1 game remaining, at least 1 scheduled, right? They have 1 scheduled against Missouri right now, and that's this Saturday. And so I don't know what may come after that. And honestly, maybe something happened this morning. Maybe something happened earlier today, and Sankey's already announced that, oh, yeah, Arkansas, they're playing whoever on the 12th. Folks, keeping up the schedule, it is like trying to juggle a cat, a bowling ball, and a chainsaw. It is a very, very difficult thing to keep all the moving pieces in line. And so Arkansas, what he's talking about, again, 3 SEC games for a team that hadn't won an SEC game in 3 years. It's been a tremendous turnaround in Fayetteville. But the best chance that a team in Arkansas spot right now, again, they're 3-5. With by my understanding, best I recall, they only got 1 game left, 1 scheduled. The biggest advantage a team in this position had was before the other conferences returned, when we only had about 70 or 75 teams that were going to play, and there were still 40 bowl games. Well, all right, everybody gets a spot. That's not the case anymore, but Arkansas has been one of the success stories of the conference. Now, you know the real kick in the pants for Arkansas and Sam Pittman is that if it was a month ago, they were all the rage, and they should have been. But it's not a month ago. They were 3-3, and then they lost to Florida and LSU, which you kind of understand. Then they had a bye week. But since that time, since the month ago, It's been Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri. They've won, I think, 4 of their last 5 games, and they are a tough out right now. So that is Sam Pittman, and I agree with him. So I'm going to jump back into it now. Like, I agreed with him. They've had a good season. Lost me with the math, but then I'm back with him. I think we deserve it. So do I, Coach. I absolutely do. Chuck Oliver Show continues on a Wednesday. We got Chris Landry coming up in about 10 minutes or so because it is a Wednesday, and bottom of hour 1 is always Chris Landry. But before we get there, one college athlete, I don't know that I've ever said that. One college athlete has missed out on millions of dollars this season. More specifically, one college athlete has missed out on millions of dollars over the past 4 days. And I don't know if I have a strategy to make up for it. Last Monday, Sarah Fuller had 1,000 Instagram followers. 9 days later, 152,000. If name, image, and likeness was already allowed, Sarah Fuller would have run out of ink signing endorsement deals this week. Folks, it's Wednesday. She kicked 5 days ago. When I say kicked, we all saw it. She did a soccer kick on a football field. She did exactly what they asked her to do. My complaint was you needed to ask her to do what you ask a male kicker to do. You treated her differently. That's on you, Vanderbilt. But I'm telling you, she would have passed the $1 million mark in 4 days following Saturday's appearance. As it is, she will run out of eligibility before August when name, image, likeness comes to be. So that it won't even affect her. She'll just be off in the world at that point. She can sign whatever deal she wants. The issue is if she actually is called to kick off, and I mean for real, boot that thing, I want it 64 yards. I want it to land at the 1 yard line. If she actually is called to kick off for real, if she was actually called to kick field goals and PATs and she can't, and folks, I'm talking about absolute disaster, she will lose most of those opportunities. Now, there will always be an opportunity for the, and I'm capital F here, okay, the first, and then fill in the blank with either gender or ethnicity and the achievement. He or she was the first, and then you fill in the blank. Well, there's always a market for that, folks. There's always an opportunity to get broke off. But right now, before she has succeeded or failed, you know, the NBA draft, you know one of the worst things for a lot of kids coming out of high school? When the NBA changed the rule that allowed them to go from senior year of high school straight to the NBA draft. Because you know what happened? A lot of these kids, you get a kid from, I don't know, rural Texas somewhere, and he's 6'11" and about 260, got hoses hanging off his shoulders. Whoo, the Orlando Magic select him with the 8th overall pick. No, because he can't do that anymore. He had to go play at Texas Tech for a season, and you realized, wait a minute, he only started 2 games at Texas Tech and had to come off the bench the rest of the time, and he ain't got much of a jump shot. And he's kind of casual on defense. And passing the ball is something he's only heard others talk about. He exposes himself by actually having to perform. I got no idea if Sarah Fuller can kick a field goal from, 42 yards. I don't know if she can kick a PAT. I have no clue if she can or she can't. But neither do the advertisers. And if Sarah Fuller had been able to sign contracts, she wouldn't have made it off the field Saturday. There'd have been an ad exec, Madison Avenue, Saturday, watching that thing going, hey, give me Tony in St. Louis. How quick can you get to Como? All right, I'll text you a contract offer. I don't know if she can kick or not, but neither do they. And the mystery would have been enough for her to sign millions of dollars, and I think that could be gone.
This is head coach Kirby Smart. It's my job to coach the fundamentals of football and prepare my guys for the future. Well, my friends at Southeast Mortgage are preparing you for your future by becoming a homeowner. Every Bulldog deserves a home. If you're in the market to purchase or refinance, I trust Southeast Mortgage to provide the best experience and get it done. Visit southeastmortgage.com/UGA to get pre-approved for your home loan today. Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Southeast Mortgage of Georgia Incorporated, NMLS, number 103956, Georgia Residential Mortgage License number 6578.
You've heard liberal Senator Chuck Schumer.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
And radical liberal Congresswoman AOC.
We win these races in Georgia so that we don't have to negotiate.
Now here's Senator David Perdue.
No negotiation. Think about that. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and John Ossoff want total control. They win Georgia, they'll have it. Illegal immigrants, voting. Police, defunded. Taxes, sky high. Our proud military, gutted. The Supreme Court, packed. Is any of that really what you want? It's easy to say, that'll never happen in America. But that's exactly what they've told us they will do. We're the only ones left who can stop them. We win Georgia, we save America.
I'm David Perdue, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message, paid for by Perdue for Senate.
If you love college football, you need to subscribe to the Chuck Oliver Show podcast or download it every day at southernsportstoday.com.
All the coaches, all the insiders, all week, all year, every day, Monday through Friday, it's your home for college football.
It's 2 hours of college football talk every single weekday from the king of college football himself. Subscribe to the Chuck Oliver Show now, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or stream the show live at southernsportstoday.com.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's our roads. It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
If you suffer from COPD symptoms like shortness of breath and fatigue, where do you turn? There are medications and oxygen, but do you know about pulmonary rehab? 3 out of 5 COPD patients have never heard of it. Pulmonary Rehab is an exercise, education, and support program that gives you tools to manage your condition, and Medicare typically pays for it. So whether it's grocery shopping on your own or just walking across the room, Pulmonary Rehab can help you. Visit livebetter.org to find out about your options for pulmonary rehab today.
It's always college football time in the South. Now back to more of the king of college football, Chuck Oliver, on Southern Sports Today.
It's Wednesday on the Chuck Oliver Show, and you know what that means, bottom of hour one, straight from LandryFootball.com. We're going to welcome Chris Landry on. It's the site I visit every single morning, roll out of the rack. It's the first place I go. It is high school recruiting to Super Bowl Sunday and everything in between, including Twitch TV, where if you go to LandryFootball.com, go all the way down to the right side of that tab. It says Twitch TV. You click it, and then you see the show, as well as football programming literally all day and night. Want to welcome you on now. Chris, how you doing, man? What's going on with the website?
Oh, just obviously you mentioned Twitch TV, all the other podcasts we've got. Look, you can watch us, you can listen to us, and obviously we've got the film room breakdowns. I'm right now breaking down all the playoff contenders, breaking down the rosters, how players were graded coming out of high school into college, and how they're graded now. We've gotten through Clemson and Notre Dame and Alabama, and we're going to work our way through a few more. That's a little added extra touch. We break down the games inside the film room. We certainly preview the games. We're getting into the preview of the games this weekend, and obviously we're going to have a little bit more of that this year as we've got more December football than we normally do. Do the same for the NFL. So it's like having your own scouting department or coaching department for less than a magazine subscription. So check it out. We think you'll love it out there.
All right, we'll start in T-Town with Alabama, and I still can't figure out what makes Devontae Smith so dang uncoverable. And he's not good, and, you can say he's great, but there are times against SEC secondaries the best word is uncoverable. What is it?
Well, first of all, let's give – respect to his physical gifts, which are good. He is very quick. He has got great separation quickness, not just speed. This guy can run. This guy's got separation quickness. But what he has done to take his game to the next level, and this is where people say, well, anybody can win there, all that talent. No, what is the nuances that he's developed as a route runner? His ability to stem a route and his ability to work not only within their route tree, but within their system to really cause a lot of consternation from secondaries is impressive. For example, watching the tape last week, I believe it was Smoke Monday that literally got smoked. That was a combination play fake, pump fake by the quarterback, and a head turn by Devontae. So that sold that. The pump fake's one thing, but when the receiver flips his head around in combination from a timing standpoint, that says to the safety, jump that. He jumped it, and people say, oh, nobody wasn't covered. Oh, no, he was covered. They just went to the wrong option. That little nuance is what makes him special, and that's why he's the most gifted receiver they have, and he's probably surpassed Amari Cooper in terms of route running skills at Alabama. He has the nuances down pat, so he's more than just the guy that caught the touchdown pass against Georgia and can run, and he's got his turn. He's special. He is going to be special at the next level because he goes in with advanced ability. And that's what it is. He's got ability. Doesn't have the greatest ability that's ever been there. His nuances of his ability to be able to work the craft of route running and understanding how to set up defenses, understanding how to recognize and coverages. That's what makes him unstoppable. And obviously they've got a system. And listen, by the way, double moves don't work unless you have good protection. So even though you can talk and praise a player, it always goes back to the team, right? They are the best double move route running team in the country. But that doesn't exist if you don't have time, because you don't have enough time to run double moves if protection doesn't hold up. It's the best pass protection line in the country as well.
Chris, and I want to mention something that you referenced there a little bit and have you expand on it. You mentioned how good he is at running routes. Amari, you mentioned him. Calvin Ridley. I'm going to give you my impression, and I'm talking good college programs, okay? Chris, I'm going to give you my impression. You tell me how Alabama's different. A first-round receiver from a Power 5 program, a lot of times he'll enter the draft. He's run about 3 routes. And Alabama receivers, they enter the NFL so much further advanced on their route runnings. I mean, it's the entire tree. It's everything. It's not just 3 or 4, and it's not just run past everybody. And that is the staff, which changes every single year in Tuscaloosa. How are they consistently so good at producing NFL type of receivers as college kids?
Well, they're really advanced in terms of how they teach routes. So there are 2 things there. The routes on the route tree, knowing how to run as many of them effectively. And I don't care how good you are, even at Alabama, there are some routes that are going to be better for you and not as good for the other guy. And it's just the physical skill set, the quickness, the separation quickness. Sometimes, for example, the 9 route, the go route, that's a speed route. Whereas obviously the post, the ability to break, the curl, the comeback, the ability to plant and come out of it, the quickness to separate is more important than just the overall speed. So you have to have the physical skills. They do. They have to learn all the routes, and they do. But when do you run those routes? When do you change the route in concert with the quarterback based on the coverage? That's extra film work. That's extra time. That's extra planning. That's extra analysts that provides cut up. And you're getting all the reps to be able to do that. And you're doing it against good personnel, good defenses. So it's how you coordinate your practices so that you give them a lot of looks and you challenge them to not just run the route correctly, but know which route to run, when, and where. And then on top of that, the nuances of what you're doing within that route, like the example, the nodding of the head, the ability to be able to dip a shoulder slightly without losing speed, that will be a strong indicator to a defender that you're getting ready to break the route when you're not, and you beat them on a crossover move. It's no different than setting up a pass rush move, with a defensive lineman. This is what you're doing. You're trying to win individual matchups. They focus on all the practices that I studied. They focus on winning your individual matchup and dominating it more than anybody. In short, they're better coached and they have the most talent. It's not either or. They are the best. It's the best developmental program in the country, but they're not a developmental program. They recruit elite talent. That's why they are consistently at the top. Everybody else is looking up to them in terms of consistency. Others have won. No one has won for as long or as consistently as they do, and it's because of their overall development within their program, how they teach. And that's at every position, but in specifically receivers, it's a combination of all that.
All right. I say all the time there are certain players that are off limits for comparisons. And I got to tell you, I can't believe I'm going here, but I want 30 seconds on this, okay? Hines Ward is about the best blocking college wide receiver I've ever seen in my life. I think John Mechie is every bit as good. He had another play on Saturday, if you can recall it, Chris, where I think it might have been Devontae again, where the kid doesn't get in the end zone or he's not getting the score. He's not getting the big gain. John Mechie is downfield like 20 yards busting his tail to turn a good gain into a field flipper. That stuff's, it's easier to not do that if you're a wide receiver. I could not be more impressed with that kid.
Well, and again, and why is that? You mentioned Hines, and boy, I agree with you. That was emphasized, right? I mean, that was emphasized in their offense. It's emphasized in Bama's offense. You don't play if you don't block. You have to be complete. All those big runs, all those runs take place when you see big runs. It's a direct result, partially, to a block by a receiver. And so that is focused on. Now, some guys are better at it. Some guys are stronger. Some guys position. Some guys take more pride in it. But at Alabama, they emphasize it more. And so that's the reason why they're better. I mean, like for example, Anquan Boldin was probably a more naturally gifted blocker, but he wasn't really trained to do it until he got into the NFL, and he was one of the better ones in the NFL. They're guys that have the skill set to do it. And what does it take to be a good blocker? Part of it's attitude. Part of it's quickness to stay frontal. And because you don't have to be a massive guy. You've got to get in the way, and you got to stick and stay frontal. If you have the quickness to do that, you have the hand quickness, you have the intensity, and you work extra on your upper body so that you can be physical, they do that. That's part of what they do in their strength and conditioning. We got to win one-on-one matchups when you're trying to catch the ball, but you got to win one-on-one matchups with the defensive back to hold on to that block, because that's the difference between a 6-yard run and one that goes 16. And so their ability to focus on that is what kind of takes it to the next level. And so their emphasis is on it is what is in. Now, why is everybody at Alabama is good at Mechie blocking? Is because he takes a little bit more pride in it. And quite frankly, that's the other way that you become the next guy to step up and, be the known guy, because you've got to earn your way on special teams. You've got to earn your way by blocking, and he's doing that.
No doubt about that at all. Chris, we're going to take a quick break. And, folks, everybody listening, this is the exact sort of commentary. It is daily. It is dynamic, updated info directly firsthand from Chris and his staff. Chris, I think I got the annual back in April. It was about $59. Do you know what the price is right now?
Yeah, it is. It's the same price. But if you take advantage of that, you can get a little bit more of a discount if you take advantage of it for a year. Obviously, it's $9.99 a month. So you do the numbers. If you get it for a year, you get the price Chuck got. It's a lot cheaper than $10 a month if you take advantage of it. And as Chuck always says, you get the football season, but you get recruiting, you get free agency, you get the draft, you get everything. It's 12 months a year. So, look, coaching and scouting it's not a 6 months a year job. It's not a 9 month a year job. It's 12 months. That's what we provide for you. And everything that you see in the fall is a byproduct of everything that's done all the other months of the year. And that's what we do for you.
All right. Well, Alabama's good enough that they got the first segment. We're going to spread everybody else around in the second segment. Give us a couple of minutes, folks. Come back with more Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com.
With a BB&T checking account, stay on top of your money with all the right ingredients. Get free helpings to online resources and tools to help make your money grow. Manage your spending by receiving alerts. And help yourself to seconds on your money with cash back with BB&T deals. Open an account today at bbt.com/checking. Must have online banking to participate in BB&T deals. BB&T, now Truist. Member FDIC.
If you're between the ages of 49 to 62 and have been thinking about applying for Social Security insurance, this message is for you. Worked a full-time job and paid taxes for at least 5 out of the past 10 years, have become disabled and are unable to work for at least the next 12 months, and do not have an attorney or advocate currently representing you. You need to call the Disability Network right now at 1-800-407-1190. Applying for Social Security benefits on your own can be an uphill battle, to say the least. You need a company that knows how to cut through the government's red tape. You need the Disability Network on your side. Remember, if you're between the ages of 49 to 62, currently unable to work, pay taxes for at least 5 out of the past 10 years, call 1-800-407-1190. That's 1-800-407-1190. Call now to get the benefits that you deserve.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma!
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Building relationships during recovery from mental and substance use disorders can put the strength of family and community behind you. We're all connected, offering encouragement, support, and hope. Join the Voices for Recovery. Strengthen families and communities.
For confidential information on mental and substance use disorders, including prevention and treatment referrals for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Meet Ed, movie buff, animal lover, safe driver.
5 years of driving an ambulance teaches you a thing or two. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. When I see a car trying to rush past a turning bus, I get concerned. You see, when big vehicles turn right, they have to swing wide to make the turn. And that's a lesson you don't want to learn the hard way. When trucks and buses turn, let's you and I wait.
It's our roads.
It's our safety.
Visit www.sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Now back to the Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today.
Chuck Oliver Oliver Show continuing on a Wednesday. We continue with Chris Landry from LandryFootball.com. Chris, let's jump back into this, and we'll stay in the West for a second. Alabama's traveling to Baton Rouge. They got the LSU on Saturday. I think that's a predictable outcome. If you're Ed Ogeron and you've already kind of pivoted the conversation to 2021, I think that kind of, I mean, it's either a subtle or a blatant message that, yeah, all the players, y'all start looking to 2021 as well. Am I looking at that wrong?
No, and I mean, he said it, but if you look at everything that they've done, I mean, the players, I mean, I think since the summer have been kind of just doing their own thing. I think that anytime you have a program that's focused on, everybody focuses on recruiting, but when you focus on player friendly, come here, you the best, if you're that type, then it creates a sense of entitlement. It creates a sense of, lack of discipline, where it's a little bit more player focused on individuality. And I think when you have the right leadership like they did last year, the team part went well, but it's a hit or miss thing with Ed because it's solely dependent upon the leadership in the locker room and certainly the development skills of the coaches. And the players are not as talented. The coaches are not as good. And what we're seeing now is an overending trend. I just got done with one of my podcasts on this very topic is this is what's happening now. Remember when players stopped playing in bowl games? Remember we said, hey, this is a slippery slope. Okay, they're not going to play, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. The Sun Bowl doesn't matter. Now, if that doesn't matter, then, the last 2-3 games of the year doesn't matter because you're not going to go to the playoffs. And you know what? We're not even in the conference race. So let's leave. It's none of this, the season is ending later, and this is normally when you kind of leave and, you don't play in the bowl game. And it's none of that. That's a pattern that's going to continue, an alarming pattern in my mind. But not to get off the topic too much, I think that the LSU situation is it's not gone off the rails, but they've got some real issues that's, Ed's having a hard time controlling things. There's a lot of off-the-field issues. The team's had a hard time adjusting to the new coaches, and the talent level's not as good. And there's some, new changes at a key offensive guy, not offense coordinator and title on defense. There's a lot of animosity there that took place leading into the season. And even though LSU lost a lot of talent, they're still more talented than they're performing on the field. But you're right. I think there's a lot of looking ahead.
All right. I'm about to ask you a question, and understand I am not blaming Chad Morris here. What's Chad Morris doing? Because I was told that it's going to be a new day. It's morning in Auburn as far as passing the ball. And for about 2 weeks, that was the role. That was what it was. And they realized, well, we ain't real good at this. So let's go back to running the ball. And we got Tank Bigsby. I have no doubt if Bigsby is healthy, that's back to a power-based run game with a bunch of, motion and eye candy and all that. But it's power-based run game. So what's Chad Morris doing? Because I was told this was finally going to be the new day in Auburn.
Well, it's hey, this is what what you said. This is what we need to do to kind of get a few skins on the wall this year. We need to win a few games, and this is what we need to do. And I think that's the Gus influence. Remember, they get along. I mean, they like each other like Chad and Gus, but their philosophies, while coming from, they think a lot on a lot of things. There's, Chad has really always been more focused on, pass game, and Gus has been more run game oriented on how he does things. Now, just because people, and this, Chuck, but for the people, just because, people are close doesn't mean they think the same. It's kind of like people, they may be best friends, but their beliefs in politics are completely different. This is always interesting. So there's always the struggle with, all right, we got to do this. But then when it doesn't work, I'm going to go back to what I know. Jim Harbaugh, Michigan. Now, just for example, Josh Gattis, come in, fix this. Oh, I don't like the way it's look. Let's go back to what I do. And then now you neither you're as we like to say in coaching and scouting, you're neither fishing or foul. So what's happening now at Auburn is just kind of what's happening. You can't look, if you're going to make the change, you have to be invested in the change. you can't run different routes and run a passing game unless it synchronizes with the passing game, just like we talked about in the first segment with Alabama. So if they're not built to pass protect, then the quarterback's not going to have time. The receivers are big, straight speed guys. Where do you get the double moves? Where do you coordinate the passing game if you don't have time? The ball has to come out too quick. So we can't. So what do? Well, we got to run the football, and we got to run the play action off of that so that we allow the defense to bite in so that we can make some plays off the run game. So I think what you're seeing is the typical adjustment that they already make. It's not about we're going to call some different plays and Chad's in here to do it. That doesn't matter. That's only half the deal, as you know. You can only call different plays when you're able to block it. It's like people play throw deep, throw deep. You can't pass protect. You're not throwing deep. You don't have time to throw deep. So stop.
And when you try to pass the ball, and here's the bottom line: if you don't protect your quarterback and you decide you're going to pass the ball, that kid starts learning a lot of bad habits.
Absolutely, because now you're sitting there and you're resorting to get the ball out, try to make something happen. I have no time. I can't read. I have to get rid of it. I mean, this happens in the NFL. It's happened to Carson Wentz. I mean, it's happened to Phillip Rivers. It's happened to the best of them. It's certainly going to happen to a quarterback in college. And look, I mean, I feel bad. I think Nix has got some ability but in this offense trying to, hey, he can do certain things, but if you can't do things around them, it won't work. And it is a link, and it's all connected together and you can't separate it. And this is why when things go bad, it's bad for a lot of reasons. People want to pull. It's easier for people to say, that's the problem. Fix that and we're done. No, it's not, because there are a lot more problems behind the scenes that your untrained eye can't see, but are there. And it's just like when you're winning and things are going well, it's not one thing. It's a combination, because that quarterback can't be the greatest ever if the protection's not there. He can't set the protection. The receiver's not making plays. The backs are. All of that works together. It is a team game.
Chris, let's jump to the ACC. We got about a minute left. I never thought North Carolina was going to beat Notre Dame, but I know what that offense is. And after the first 15 minutes, I mean, Clark Lee's like, all right, we got this figured out. And I don't think people really – I think that there was a lot of respect given to Notre Dame. Wow, they beat North Carolina by 2 touchdowns. That ain't half the story to me. It's what that defense did over the final 3 quarters. Notre Dame's better than I thought. I'll just leave it at that.
They're really good. If you want to make a comparison, the folks that don't watch them, they're a slight upgrade from like an A&M. I mean, they're really good on the offensive line. They're a really good defense. They are very well coached, ironically, by former Notre Dame defense coordinator, now at A&M. But offensively, I think Ian Book's better than Kellen Mond. So that's what makes Notre Dame a little better than A&M. But along the same line, stylistically, can run the football. Ian Book can creatively make plays when things break down a lot better than Kellen Mond can. So that's the difference. But they're very, very good. And Brian does a good job on offense. And here's the other comparison. Notre Dame's receivers can't get off coverage. A&M's receivers can't get off coverage, and that's the Achilles heel. But again, it's a comparison stylistically. Notre Dame's just better. But Clark Lee is outstanding, and maybe I'll tell you off the air. I talked to him this week. He's up for a couple of jobs, and I've always said, and the opportunity needs to be the right one, because sometimes you don't get that second one. He is a really bright coach, and he's got a great future, and he's on a track to be a really good head coach. He is a brilliant, brilliant defensive coordinator.
Well, Chris, I always enjoy the visits. As I said, LandryFootball.com is the website. And again, just when people get there, I mean, it's film work, it's game day, it's Twitch, it's all of that stuff. So I appreciate you making me sound good every day. I hope everybody else visits LandryFootball.com as well. Chris, thanks for your time, man.
You need no help on that. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate what you do.
All right, Chris Landry again from LandryFootball.com. And that was the not the real takeaway, because, again, I didn't think North Carolina was going to beat Notre Dame, but I didn't think that they would come. Basically what happened on Friday, was after the script got used, North Carolina didn't have anywhere to go after that. They put 14 on the board in the first frame, and then basically it was a brick wall from Notre Dame after that.
Is your bathroom looking old and worn out? Want to update it, but you don't know where to start? Then let BCI Bath & Shower show you how to turn that old bath into an aisle of beauty and functionality. Our residential bathroom solutions provide the best value on the market, and our customer service is second to none. Our cost-effective BCI Bath & Shower family of products has what you need.
Remodeling our bathroom was a big decision for us.
They didn't make a mess out of our house at all. And at the end of the day, we had a beautiful new bathroom. And it was a great experience the whole way through.
We have the best monthly payment programs in the industry, with payments as low as $68 per month, or no interest, no payments for 18 months. That's right. Get the bathroom of your dreams now and pay for it in 2021. Call 1-800-329-4115 for a free no-obligation price quote. That's 1-800-329-4115. When you want quality bathroom products at a great price, it's got to be BCI Bath & Shower. That's 1-800-329-4115.
My mom's a breast cancer survivor. The United Breast Cancer Foundation saved her life. Their free breast cancer exam caught the cancer early, and it saved her life. But now the foundation needs your help so they can continue offering free or low-cost breast screening exams, saving more women's lives. Help them by donating your car, whether it's running or not. They'll provide fast, free 24-hour pickup, and you receive a charitable tax deduction, plus the great feeling you'll get knowing your donated car is going to help save more lives. Just call
800-525-3204
to set the wheels in motion. They take cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs, running or not.
Call 800-525-3204.
The United Breast Cancer Foundation needs your help, and your donation could literally save women's lives, helping them catch breast cancer early, like they did with my mom. Donate today.
Call 800-525-3204. 800-525-3204.
All the other podcasts we've got. Look, you can watch it.
Now more college football talk with the king of college football. It's the Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today.
Want to welcome you on now. Chris, how you doing, man? What's going on with the website?
Oh, just obviously you mentioned Twitch TV, all the other podcasts we've got. Look, you can watch us, you can listen to us, and obviously we've got the film room breakdowns. I'm right now breaking down all the playoff contenders, breaking down the rosters, how players were graded coming out of high school into college, and how they're graded now. We've gotten through Clemson and Notre Dame and Alabama, and we're going to work our way through a few more. That's a little added extra touch. We break down the games inside the film room. We certainly preview the games. We're getting into the preview of the games this weekend, and obviously we're going to have a little bit more of that this year as we've got more December football than we normally do. Do the same for the NFL. So it's like having your own scouting department or coaching department for less than a magazine subscription. So check it out. We think you'll love it out there.
All right, well, let's start in T-Town with Alabama. And I still can't figure out what makes Devontae Smith so dang uncoverable. And he's not good, and, you know, you can say he's great, but there are times against SEC secondaries the best word is uncoverable. What is it?
Well, first of all, let's give respect to his physical gifts, which are good. He is very quick. He has got great separation quickness, not just speed. This guy can run. This guy's got separation quickness. But what he has done to take his game to the next level. And this is where people say, well, anybody can win there, all that talent. No, what is the nuances that he's developed as a route runner. His ability to stem a route and his ability to work not only within their route tree, but within their system to really cause a lot of consternation from secondaries is impressive. For example, watching the tape last week, I believe it was Smoke Monday that literally got smoked. That was a combination play fake, pump fake by the quarterback and a head turn by Devontae. So that sold that. You know, the pump fake's one thing, but when the receiver flips his head around in combination from a timing standpoint, that says to the safety, jump that. He jumped it, and people say, oh, nobody wasn't covered. Oh, no, he was covered. They just went to the wrong option. That little nuance is what makes him special, and that's why he's the most gifted receiver they have, and he's probably surpassed Amari Cooper in terms of route running skills at Alabama. He has the nuances down pat, so he's more than just the guy that caught the touchdown pass against Georgia and can run, and he's got his turn. He's special. He is going to be special at the next level because he goes in with advanced ability. And that's what it is. He's got ability. Doesn't have the greatest ability that's ever been there. His nuances of his ability to be able to work the craft of route running and understanding how to set up defenses, understanding how to recognize and coverages. That's what makes him unstoppable. And obviously they've got a system. And listen, by the way, double moves don't work unless you have good protection. So even though you can talk and praise a player, it always goes back to the team, right? They are the best double move route running team in the country. But that doesn't exist if you don't have time, because you don't have enough time to run double moves if protection doesn't hold up. It's the best pass protection line in the country as well.
Chris, and I want to mention something that you referenced there a little bit and have you expand on it. You mentioned how good he is at running routes. Amari, you mentioned him. Calvin Ridley. I'm going to give you my impression, and I'm talking good college programs, okay? Chris, I'm going to give you my impression. You tell me how Alabama's different. A first-round receiver from a Power 5 program, a lot of times he'll enter the draft. He's run about 3 routes. And Alabama receivers, they enter the NFL so much further advanced on their route runnings. I mean, it's the entire tree. It's everything. It's not just 3 or 4, and it's not just run past everybody. And that is the staff, which changes every single year in Tuscaloosa. How are they consistently so good at producing NFL type of receivers as college kids?
Well, they're really advanced in terms of how they teach routes. So there are 2 things there. The routes on the route tree, knowing how to run as many of them effectively. And I don't care how good you are, even at Alabama, there are some routes that are going to be better for you and not as good for the other guy. And it's just the physical skill set, the quickness, the separation quickness. Sometimes, for example, the 9 route, the go route, that's a speed route. Whereas obviously the post, the ability to break, the curl, the comeback, the ability to plant and come out of it, the quickness to separate is more important than just the overall speed. So you have to have the physical skills. They do. They have to learn all the routes, and they do.
Because I was told that it's going to be a new day. It's morning in Auburn as far as passing the ball. And for about 2 weeks, that was the role. That was what it was. And they realized, well, we ain't real good at this. So let's go back to running the ball. And we got Tank Bigsby. Well, Chris, I always enjoy the visits. As I said, LandryFootball.com is the website. And again, just when people get there, I mean, it's film work, it's game day, it's Twitch.
In the South, it's always college football season. And the king of college football reigns supreme all year long. Now more college football talk with the king of college football. It's the Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today.
And because it's a Wednesday on the Chuck Oliver Show, it's a Chris Landry Day. We just talked to Chris. We do it every Wednesday, bottom of hour 1. Chris is here for 2 segments, and you can hear that if you listen to the podcast. You can go to thepodcastpark.com, thepodcastpark.com. Like, subscribe. If you subscribe, you ain't doing any more work. Go to thepodcastpark.com, Chuck Oliver Show, subscribe. Just shows up every day. It's pretty awesome. But Chris Landry, bottom of hour 1, every single Wednesday. Appreciate him coming on. Wednesdays during the season, also Russ Mitchell from College Football News. He will be with us in just a few minutes. And then the bottom of this hour, Will Vandervoort coming on from the Clemson Insider, talking a little Tigers as they continue to make their push to another national championship. All that's coming up. Right now, I'm going to get you up to date.
Everything you need to know about college football every single day. This is CFB 365. Presented by EcoDerm. Text EcoDerm to 31996 now for your free sample of EcoDerm Pain Relief Cream and CBD from Frank Thomas. Text ECODERM to 31996 now.
Well, somebody has not been paying attention to the Chuck Oliver Show. We on the side of your fridge, we've got that yellow sheet of paper from the legal pad. Life rules, sports rules. One of our life rules, remember, maybe my number one life rule. If you're breaking the law, don't break the law. All right? If you've got a bale of weed in the trunk, don't speed. If you're breaking the law, don't break the law. Headline: Tennessee dismisses Kevon Bennett after arrest. Yes, University of Tennessee has dismissed starting outside linebacker Kevon Bennett from the football team. He was arrested on gun and drug charges near campus yesterday. Jeremy Pruitt said that in a statement. He is facing felony, my goodness. Felony charges, plural. Possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, possession of Schedule 6 drugs with intent to distribute. My goodness gracious. He is still in the Knox County Jail as far as I know. Quote, Kevon Bennett is dismissed from our football program following a traffic stop earlier. According to police, he was pulled over for speeding. If you're breaking the law, don't break the law. He was pulled over for speeding. The officer smelled marijuana. Bennett advised the officer he had a handgun under the seat, and police found 44.9 grams of marijuana, a digital scale, storage bags, and a handgun. My impression is that means you're a dealer. Not just a user, a dealer. So he has been dismissed. And kid's a good football player. Too bad for him. Too bad for Tennessee as well. Headline: Top 7 teams remain unchanged in latest playoff rankings. The College Football Playoff Committee announced their new rankings. Alabama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State continue to occupy the top 4 spots. And then after that, it didn't change yet. Texas A&M, everybody trying to get in. It has not changed for them as well. Headline: Southern Miss hires Tulane OC. That'd be Will Hall. And the Green Wave has become a decent football program. For a long time, they were one of those 5 homecoming teams. You get your own homecoming and then like 3 or 4 on the road every year. And I know because I actually did color on a Tulane homecoming against Marshall in 2009, Tulane Marshall in the Superdome. It was homecoming. I'm not kidding, folks. There were about 12,000 people there. I bet you half of them weren't aware it was homecoming. That was Tulane, and that was Tulane for the better part of a couple of decades. Like after the Bowden thing, and then Bob Toledo, didn't he show up at Tulane? It was bad, and it didn't have to be because you got players everywhere, local kids, and you got money. And so now they're actually playing good football, and the OC gets some of those fruits. He's 40 years old, spent the past 2 years at Tulane. He had been at Memphis, Louisiana, etc. Had been a head coach before at a couple of Division II schools, but he is now the head coach at Southern Miss. Southern Miss is a place you can win. I absolutely promise you can win there. All right, consider yourself up to date. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be here with Russ Mitchell from collegefootballnews.com.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to, including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available and it's a free call to enroll. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare benefits line now. It's easy. Call 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings. Not all Medicare Advantage plans are alike. The new plans have more benefits for many people. Call 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290. 800-340-1290.
Tax Solutions Now is a complimentary referral service that connects callers to companies that provide tax services.
Money matters. If you owe thousands in back taxes to the IRS, how much can Tax Solutions Now save you?
I paid less than I owe.
That's right, money matters. So call Tax Solutions Now and get the IRS off your back. Since 2014, Tax Solutions Now has been a leader in the tax resolution industries. Remove wage garnishments, property liens, fines, and penalties. Qualify for the Fresh Start program or even uncollectible status. How much can Tax Solutions Now save you?
I owed the IRS over $10,000. I paid a fraction of what I owed.
Call now to reduce or even eliminate your back taxes.
I called Tax Solutions Now and got the IRS off my back. Thanks. You saved us a ton of money.
Money matters. How much can Tax Solutions Now save you? Call now and find out.
Call 800-520-5205. 800-520-5205. 800-520-5205.
All right, crew. Let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Here's farmer and businessman James Wood.
We farm about 3,500 acres. There's pipelines everywhere. The contractor working on my property did not have the lines located before he began work, and it resulted on a strike on a natural gas pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
If you suffer from COPD symptoms like shortness of breath and fatigue, where do you turn? There are medications and oxygen, but do you know about pulmonary rehab? 3 out of 5 COPD patients have never heard of it. Pulmonary rehab is an exercise, education, and support program that gives you tools to manage your condition, and Medicare typically pays for it. So whether it's grocery shopping on your own or just walking across the room, pulmonary rehab can help you. Visit livebetter.org to find out about your options for pulmonary rehab today.
Catch the king of college football no matter where you go with a new Southern Sports Today app. Catch the best college football conversation in the South everywhere with the SST live stream and daily podcast. Downloaded now at the App Store and the Google Play Store. Now more of the best college football talk in the country. It's the Chuck Oliver Show.
All week, all year, it's all college football on the Chuck Oliver Show. Been that way since we started about 6.5 years ago almost now. And welcome again, new affiliate, Jackson, Tennessee, 9 states, 48 sticks. Appreciate everybody joining and putting this blessing in my life. I get to talk college football, and there's food in the cabinet. I flip the switch, room gets bright. It's pretty groovy. I want to welcome on someone who can say thank you for those same blessings. He is the lead SEC columnist at College Football News. You see him all over TV, ESPN, Sirius, all of that. Russ Mitchell, welcome, brother. How are you today?
Kicking tires, lighting fires. Yes, I get paid to have an opinion, which is crazy. And, you know, it's interesting because you can kind of tie that into the whole Kirk Herbstreit thing this morning. With
oh, my goodness.
What he said. I mean, we pay the guy to go on TV and have an opinion, and he does it, and then he has to apologize for, you know.
Well, now, hang on. I'm going to tell everybody what Russ is referring. Kirk Herbstreit was on radio, I think. Or no, it's TV this morning, wasn't it?
TV.
And
no, it was last night. Yes.
And I saw it this morning. You're right. And he said that I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan white flags it and surrenders that they could play the game, but to screw Ohio State, they just back out of playing altogether, so Ohio State didn't get a chance to reach. Then he came back and apologized with like a video apology. So you're right, that did happen.
You know, part of this is, and by the way, for my money, Herb Street on television is the best in the business. I would say all your viewers, all your listeners are very lucky to have you, brother, because you put on a great show and very, very good entertainment from a college football perspective. But from a television perspective, Herb Street is the best. And I think one of the things he's done very well is to carve out as much of a neutral position as possible. So I don't know, maybe he felt – I have respect for people that apologize when they feel they've made a mistake. I mean, we all make mistakes. We're all sinners. We make mistakes. But I don't think you got to – people have been talking about this.
Yeah, and
people have been talking about this.
I want to, my take on this was, I don't know if you can specifically assign it to Jim Harbaugh and Michigan for the Ohio State game. But if you take the specific details out and you ask anybody in college football, do you think there have been programs, teams this year that have just bagged on playing a game because they knew it wasn't going to be a competitive thing? I would answer yes before you finish the question.
Yeah, I think this is just as we talked about way back in August. We have been blessed to have this season, whatever it is, whatever shape it's in. I mean, we've got kids opting out all over the place and games being canceled. We're very fortunate to have what we have, and given all the circumstances, and I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, and that, and I've also, like Rakeem Boyd today, or I guess last night, announced that he's opting out as well. And I've said it's not opting out anymore, Russ. It's December. If there is one or two games left, you're quitting on your teammates at this point.
Yeah. Yes. I think you are, actually. I don't think there's any other way of looking at it. If you're going to opt out to prepare for the NFL draft because of an injury like Bosa, then you do it. And, people can say what they want. If you're going to opt out at the beginning of the season, like 3 of the LSU kids did, then, you can say what you want. But to do it at this point with 2 games left, I mean, for example, for Marshall, the star wide receiver at LSU, to opt out of the rest of his junior year to prepare for the NFL draft, what? So you don't have to go get smushed by Alabama and Florida? Come on, kid. This is the thing that bothers me. I'm going to rant now, so I'm going to calm myself down.
Hang on, everybody. I'm going to give Russ the floor for about 60 seconds. Go, rant.
Where are the adults in this situation? I've long been an advocate that if you've got a kid who is a first-round draft choice and you want to hold them out for a season, I'm against it, but I get it. It's a business decision. I get it. But this kid is going to regret this decision for the rest of his life. Yes, he could get injured in the last 2 games, but the likelihood at this point is so minuscule. But I guarantee you, he will look back on this decision and wish he didn't do it.
Russ,
and, where are the parents?
I have said that, there are always individual examples, which is why I don't want to say, Rakeem Boyd quit. Or Antonius Clayton, he quit, the kid at Tech who opted out yesterday. But in general, if it's not asthma, diabetes, my grandma lives with me, if it's not something along those lines, if it is just, hey, this season sucks, so I guess I'll opt out. I want to ask you specifically, because you were a varsity letterman at Syracuse, and you referenced it. I've said, if you're going to the NFL draft, I get it. It's just, you were going to leave, so just leave early. But if you have eligibility left, like a lot of these kids who are saying, I'm opting out for the rest of this season, hey, I'll see y'all at spring practice in March. Russ,
good God.
If you stayed on the team and suddenly it's March 14th and it's time for the first spring practice and you have a guy walking in that with 4 days of practice and 1 game left bagged on the team, how does that go over with teammates?
I hear people say, well, in football, it doesn't matter what sport it is, man. It could be the chess club. Honestly, but especially in anything that's, competitive and you've got teammates and they quit because times are tough and you've got some people in front of you. I mean, and this is why I really encourage all children to play sports. And, why neither of my daughters was very athletic. They took after their mother's side of the family. But I encouraged them to play sports because losing teaches you life is hard, you know, and you got to get up. And it's the same reason why if you're a great athlete but you're not a good public speaker, why you should take drama in high school, because you got to learn that life requires you to get up and talk in front of people, and you got to do it. You know, in high school and college, these are the places to learn these skill sets. So we're off target, we're off path, but I'm very, very disappointed to see this behavior.
Yeah, and I don't mean to sound like the two old guys in the Muppets that sit up Stadler and Waldorf.
Yes.
But there is something.
But we have some experience.
I talked about this maybe a month ago, Russ, and I'm talking big picture sort of, like satellite image, not even bird's eye. There's value in getting your ass kicked. And I don't mean like losing a game. No. I mean being on the Little League team that goes 0-18, and you got to show up to fourth grade every single day after you lost 18 straight games. There's value in that.
Yeah, yes, I might go one step higher than Little League, but yes, you know, I think there's definitely value. There's value in getting your ass kicked, period. You know, I mean, I mouthed off a little too much when I was 18, 17, and, you know, I learned the lessons for that. So, I mean, there's value in that. By the way, I want to say one other thing, as long as we're totally off tangent. This is a great, I think, parenting opportunity for all of you driving around right now. If you've got teenage children, or maybe even a little younger, it's up to you, whatever age, you know, go home and talk to them about this. You know, I mean, you don't quit when life is hard. You don't quit to make it easier for yourself in the future. You know, I mean, you got to be prudent but this is just downright quitting. And I think there's a good opportunity for people to learn from the mistakes others make.
Russ, let's talk a little LSU Bama from the Tigers standpoint.
Oh, my God.
If anybody hadn't watched college football and they just look at the standings, they're going to see, well, LSU, they've got one more loss than win. They've scored one more point than they've allowed. I guess their average is grits. And I'll be like, no. They have been the biggest EKG week to week. They lose 48-11, they win 52-24. It hasn't been an average middle of the road season. It has been huge extremes from week to week for this team.
So if you want the positive, if you want the optimistic, and I like to be an optimist, the defense, which has been so just, there's no excuse for it, really. I mean, Mississippi State had a game where they only scored 2 points, and yet against LSU they set the conference record, the history of the SEC for passing yards. So LSU's defense has been just an abject failure this year. They played well against A&M after the break. So is that a sign? You know, we'll certainly get a firsthand look at Alabama. Alabama, for my money, is right now it's Alabama 1 and everybody else 2. I think Alabama's playing the best football right now in all of college football, and I actually don't think it's close. So I expect LSU to get run around, particularly when you think about the fact that LSU had 16 players drafted in the NFL off of last year's team. Moss went to the Redskins, and they now have 4 starters who have opted out of this year with Marshall this week. So basically it's Jacoby Stevens and one other guy that returned from last year's team. And, you know, can they play Alabama? No. But you're watching to see, do we need to fire Bo Pelini? Was this Bo Pelini? That's what the rest of the year is about for LSU. How much stones do we have? And do we need to fire Bo Pelini? That's what you're looking for in this game.
Russ, I think you just stumbled upon maybe the most impossible bar for any coordinator to clear the rest of the season. Hey, Bo Pelini, let's see your defense the final 2 weeks. You play Bama and UF.
And Ole Miss, right? They're going to squeeze Ole Miss in there, too. With that
on Champions Day. We want to see you with improved defense versus Bama, UF, and the Rebels.
I think the Bo Pelini experiment was a mistake. I really do. I think, you know, college football has taken a fundamental shift forward since 2008, since the end of the previous, you know, the 2010s and the aughts. And I think that guys like Les Miles and Pelini. I don't think they've managed to keep up, and I think that was not a very good decision by Coach O.
Well, Russ, I always appreciate your visits, man. It's fast and furious. We got tires and fires everywhere. It's always a lot of fun, brother. I appreciate your time, man.
I feel like I should stand up and yell, "Get off my lawn!"
Yeah, and now you need exhale, and we will move on. Do it again in 7 days, Russ, okay?
All right, take care. Bye.
All right, Russ Mitchell again from College Football News. But that really is what it is. Bo Pelini, to keep his job potentially, you got to show improved defense, and he's right about Ole Miss against Bama, UF, and the Rebels.
You've heard liberal Senator Chuck Schumer.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America.
And radical liberal Congresswoman AOC.
We win these races in Georgia so that we don't have to negotiate.
Now here's Senator David Perdue.
No negotiation. Think about that. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, and John Ossoff want total control. They win Georgia, they'll have it. Illegal immigrants, voting. Police, defunded. Taxes, sky high. Our proud military, gutted. The Supreme Court, packed. Is any of that really what you want? It's easy to say, that'll never happen in America. But that's exactly what they've told us they will do. We're the only ones left who can stop them. We win Georgia, we save America.
I'm David Perdue, candidate for U.S. Senate, and I approve this message, paid for by Purdue for Senate.
This is head coach Kirby Smart. It's my job to coach the fundamentals of football and prepare my guys for the future. Well, my friends at Southeast Mortgage are preparing you for your future by becoming a homeowner. Every Bulldog deserves a home. If you're in the market to purchase or refinance, I trust Southeast Mortgage to provide the best experience and get it done. Visit southeastmortgage.com/UGA to get pre-approved for your home loan today. Southeast Mortgage, the official home loan lender of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Southeast Mortgage of Georgia Incorporated, NMLS, number 103956. Georgia Residential Mortgage License number 6578.
The Southeast is Braves country. So for the latest on the Atlanta Braves, subscribe to the Braves Clubhouse Report, dropping every Wednesday afternoon with Kevin McAlpin and the voice of the Braves, Ben Ingram.
The Atlanta Braves are once again champions of the National League East.
And for even more Braves, you can also subscribe to K-Mac's weekly Braves podcast and be on top of the latest Braves news before anyone else. Subscribe to the Braves Clubhouse Report and Braves Weekly wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Some of the best sounds you'll ever hear are generic, safe, effective, even money-saving, just like FDA-approved generic drugs. Even if they don't come in the exact same color or shape as their brand name equivalents, they have the same key ingredients and go through a rigorous review process. Talk to your doctor or pharmacist today and visit fda.gov/generic drugs. Generics are safe, effective, and can save you money. You'll like the sound of that.
My name is Jackie. I'm a mom and a survivor of cancer caused by HPV. I know how important HPV vaccination is for cancer prevention. You can protect your kids. It's as simple as getting your girls and boys the HPV vaccine series when they are 11 or 12. Let's get our kids vaccinated on time. Make an appointment today. For more information, visit cdc.gov/HPV and talk to your child's doctor. HPV vaccine is cancer prevention. A message from the CDC.
Hey, I'm Rodeo Clown JJ Harrison. Now, if you've ever seen me in the arena, you know I like to have fun, take chances. But I also take safety very seriously, because rodeo clowning can be dangerous, but so can farming or ranching. Never assume location of depth of underground utilities or pipelines. Before you start work, always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com. It only takes a minute, and it can save your life.
Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign. Here's farmer and landowner John Prue.
We purchased the land about 3 years ago, and there was an old farmstead on there with trees. We were going to clear the land so we could farm through it. We thought we knew where the pipe was, so we didn't call to get it located. The work on our property led to the damage of a light crude pipeline. Fortunately, no one was hurt, but it could have been much worse.
Never assume the location or depth of underground lines. Always call 811 or visit clickbeforeyoudig.com before you start work. A message from the Pipeline Operators for Ag Safety campaign.
Now more college football talk with the king of college football. It's the Chuck Oliver Show on Southern Sports Today.
Everything that man told you is true. I'm Chuck Oliver. This is my show. We talk college football. It doesn't get any more complicated than that ever, I promise. And we're going to be talking Clemson a little bit right here with the ACC announcing its scheduled games coming up over the next few weekends. If you look at the Clemson schedule right now, they just opened a can on Pitt over the weekend. I'm sure that Narduzzi's looking around going, "What'd we do? You're angry at Norvell and Florida State, so you take it out on us?" I was like, no, that's just kind of a Clemson performance against an overmatched opponent. Dabo has a history of, if there is an opportunity, and every coach does not do this, and I don't understand it, but if there's a chance to really unload on somebody early, Dabo will do it. He will start playing the backups, and that is one way he keeps all those 4-star and 5-star kids in the program, is because they get to play a lot. And so, like I said, they drop a number on Pittsburgh. They got Virginia Tech coming up Saturday, December 5th. And according to the ACC, that is the final regular season game for Clemson. They have announced a Pitt-Georgia Tech game for the following Thursday. For Saturday the 12th, they have now 4 games scheduled for that day. And then on Championship Saturday, there are 2 additional games not involving the teams that will play in Charlotte, which we know now one of them has to be Notre Dame. And the other, I think it's all but Clemson, but we all know that it's going to be Clemson and Notre Dame meeting in Charlotte for the ACC title game. I want to welcome on now a guy we always love catching up with when it's time to talk a little Clemson. From the Clemson Insider, it's Will Vandervoort. Will, welcome back. How are you today?
I'm good, Chuck. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Am I correct? It's Notre Dame is in and Clemson is all but, if that's an official designation.
Well, they have to win this weekend to be in. So Miami, which has 1 loss, is in the conversation. So what they've done is Miami will play next week, and say if Clemson were to be upset by the Hokies this weekend, then Miami will have an opportunity to earn its way into the championship game next week, and then they will not play that game on October 19th that they're scheduled to play if they're in the championship game. So that's the way the ACC did it. They did it on a 9-game scale because those are the 3 teams that were only 3 teams that could actually make the, Notre Dame, as you said, is already in. Clemson needs to win 1 game to get in, and then Miami needs to win 2 games and Clemson lose to get in.
Yeah.
So that's why it's done that way.
Including the North Carolina game, which was previously announced for December 12th. And then the curveball, as Will was saying for everybody listening, is on Saturday the 19th. If Clemson is in Charlotte, Miami will be at home hosting Georgia Tech. So, again, there's still a lot of moving parts there, but by my estimation, the ACC has kind of been figured out at this point as far as who's going to play in the title game. Let's talk about Clemson and some big picture stuff, and I'm not even starting with Trevor Lawrence. I would have bet my car the morning of the national championship game that was the last we were going to see of Travis Etienne. He surprised everybody, came back, said he was 100% comfortable with it. Give me the download. Has this been a successful season for Travis Etienne based on why he came back?
Absolutely it has. Now, I know a lot of people probably looking for the big rushing numbers and stuff, and he hasn't had that as much, though he's had a pretty good year. He's right at 700 yards rushing and, 13 rushing touchdowns. But the main reason he came back is he had to show the NFL guys, he got a second-round grade, and what they wanted to see was improvement with his, with his route trees, improvement with his ability to read defenses and pick up blitzes, and he's done all those things. So I would say that is definitely something that, he has done. He's done those things. He broke C.J. Spiller's record for receptions and reception yards last week. Now he's got 40 catches for 511 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, he did that in 9 games. Spiller set the record with 36 catches for 503, in 14 games back in 2009. So you see that he's really improved, and Clemson's used him in a lot of different ways in the passing game. They set him out on the field side. He's run real routes. He's run regular routes. There's a game, I can't remember what game it was, but he was actually running a go route, which how many wide receivers are running go routes? Saw him run a couple corner routes this year as well when he's sitting in the slot. They've lined him up in so many different ways that defenses don't really know how to defend him. And the reason they've done that is they've got creative with him, because defenses with Clemson not having that big game receiver that they've had in years past, whether it be a Mike Williams or Justin Ross or T. Higgins. They don't have that this year. And so while they were waiting for somebody to emerge to get better on that sense, they've used Travis Etienne in the passing game a lot, and it's really benefited him and Clemson as defenses have stacked the boxes and dared Clemson to throw the football. I think Etienne has benefited the most out of that situation, and now I think he's probably put himself in position to be a first-round pick.
Yeah, and Will, I don't dispute what you're saying there, folks. Clemson, Will, I think you'd agree. They've usually their fourth or fifth receiver is a starting caliber receiver at a lot of ACC programs, so there's just not a lot of need to get the backs involved most times. What about actually carrying the ball? With Etienne gone, it was going to be Lynn J. Dixon and DeMarcus Bowman, I thought. Well, Bowman already hit the road, and Lynn J. Dixon, I can't explain his season. Has it been injury? Has it been a sour attitude? And like I said, I don't know anything about the kid other than suddenly you look around, and he's only got one more year left.
Yeah, and so, he's going to have an opportunity in the spring. They're bringing in a couple of really good running backs. Here with this next recruiting class, got a 5-star coming in and a high 4-star coming in. And they got Ches Malusi, who has really kind of taken the next step in his progression, and they really like where he's going to be at, especially come next spring when spring training opens up. I think Lynn J's going to start the spring as the guy. I think Malusi's going to be a guy that they're going to challenge him, and then obviously one of those freshman running backs as well. We'll see what happens with him, but right now I think he's going to get that opportunity. Now, the good news for him is I thought against Pitt was the best I've seen him run all year. I don't know if it's a long break and him just not having to practice really or what it was, or Clemson just changing things up. But he ran the best and the hardest he's played all year. He had that knee injury in the fall camp that I think really set him back, and maybe now he's just getting back to close to 100%. But he looked good in that game against Pitt, and that's what Clemson needs, because they're going to need him, to spell Travis Etienne at times, especially if they're going to make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, you mentioned Malusi there. What a good-looking, thick running back. That he's a youngin', but man, he can absolutely hold up against an ACC defense. Let's flip it over to the Clemson defense real quick, Will. And the first thing I need to ask you is run through the injuries, because it seems over the last 3 or 4 weeks that has been the first area of attention to me when I'm looking at Clemson each week. Is like, all right, what about Skowski? What about in the secondary? Tyler Davis. Run through some of the injured players and just get us up to speed, please.
Well, the good news for Clemson is they're actually probably going to be as healthy as they've been since the opening game of the season when they go up to Plattsburgh on Saturday. So it's good news for Clemson fans. Not so much good news, I guess, for Virginia Tech fans. But Tyler Davis, as you know, he returned last week, and he saw a big difference right away with him in that lineup. James Skowski was back last week. He kind of did an okey-doke on everybody. He wasn't really projected to be back till this Virginia Tech game. He got back a week early. You saw a difference in that, because now you had your 2 best players in the middle of that defense back and playing. They're getting healthy on the back end. They're still without Landon Zanders, their starting free safety. Kind of missing him a little bit. But you saw some guys step up last week, got a little bit better. And Venables talked about how a lot of these young guys have played so much that they've actually gotten better because of it. And now they're kind of, the light bulb's kind of coming on here at the end of the season. And he really likes where they're at from a personnel standpoint. He likes where they're at from a schematic standpoint. And these guys, he says, as he said the other day, the light bulb's really come on for them, and they feel like they can use them in a lot of different ways. So, Mike Jones, the linebacker, strong side linebacker, he's back. He missed a couple of games due to a hamstring injury he played against Pitt. So they're back pretty much to full speed. They'll have Sheridan Jones, their starting cornerback, back this week, as well as Darion Kendrick, their other cornerback, back this week as well. So they're actually going to have for the first time since the Wake Forest game, they'll have all 11 players possibly, with maybe a questionable with Landon Zanders back for this game against Virginia Tech.
Can you tell that Trevor Lawrence missed a game?
Yeah, he was rusty for one play. The first play wasn't a good pass. After that, he kind of got the rhythm, and then it was rest to go. He was good to go after that, and he's back to being Trevor Lawrence. And again, it's he's Dabo said yesterday he's the best in the country, and he says anybody who knows football can see he's the best player in the country. He says he don't get into all the Heisman stuff. He says if he did, they would have already had a Heisman Trophy winner in Deshaun Watson and stuff like that. They're more about winning football games and developing players as they go through the season. And he says if people don't turn on tape and look at Trevor Lawrence and don't see that what makes him the best player, he says then they're just missing the boat and they don't understand football. And I'll agree with Dabo Swinney on that.
Last thing I want to ask you about is now that there's been a chance to kind of digest and exhale a little bit, what is the optimism? I'm not going to ask what do they feel. What is the level of optimism around DJ now that, he got a full game on the road in an impossible environment and the offense produced. And by the way, Will, I'm putting aside all the Trevor, hey, if this is my last game, Trevor, it's your last game at home. So what is the feeling about DJ given that come March or April, he's the guy?
Yeah, the feeling is really good because also keep in mind he actually was about 80% in that game, and actually his shoulder was still he was still kind of nursing that shoulder, and so they didn't run the zone read with him at all in that game against Notre Dame. And so you take that into account and understand that he wasn't doing any of the RPO game and all that stuff, which is what if you watched him in high school, he really excels at. You throw that into the equation, and he still had 400-plus yards passing against Notre Dame, actually set the record by opponent against Notre Dame throwing the football. I mean, he can throw the deep balls but as good as anybody I've ever seen. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, and he's got a zip on it too, and he's got to work on his touch a little bit. I think on a couple of those, touch passes, he kind of was maybe throwing it a little too hard. But when you go on the road to Notre Dame and complete 70% of your passes for 400-something yards and 3 touchdowns, I think you did well. And I think if you're a Clemson fan, you got to be excited at what the future looks like for Clemson at that position. I don't think there's going to be much of a drop-off at all. He had an excellent game, and, you can pick anything. Like you said, you can pick apart anything, but I think it's hard not to say you come out of that game, those 2 games he played at A-plus level and really showed the future looks very bright for Clemson at quarterback.
All right, last thing I want to ask you, and it's a weird situation, but Clemson right now, it's just commits. But Clemson has 17 commits. They got 1 kid from in-state, and I've had a couple of Clemson fans, obviously off air and such, what's wrong with what's our recruiting going to turn out? I looked at him, I was like, if Dabo wanted the kids, they would probably have the kids. It's that they have decided that this year in the Palmetto State, that's just not where it's at. Is that a correct download?
Yeah, I mean, the talent in the Palmetto State is not, South Carolina has its years where they'll have a year where they'll have several, high D1 players, but then they have years like this year where the talent is not so high in the state. And so you're right. If Clemson wants a kid, and they think he fits their program and fits what they want to do, then yeah, they'll go after him, and he'll say yes. There's no doubt about it. I mean, all the Clemson's got to do is offer at this point with most kids. So Clemson's very selective on which kids, because not only are they looking for a great athlete and football player, but they're also looking for the kid that fits Clemson, that fits the Clemson culture that they have there, and that's very important to Dabo Swinney. No matter if that's a kid from the Palmetto State or a kid from California. It's very important that kid fit the culture. It's not just about his level of play and how good he is. Clemson doesn't have to worry about that anymore because they got plenty of kids that are 4- and 5-star kids that want to come play for Clemson and Dabo Swinney. Now they kind of got to weed through those and find the kid who actually fits the culture at Clemson and fits that style and will be comfortable living in Clemson. Because, as you know, if you come to Clemson sometime, it is not a typical place. It's a small town America, and as a kid, you've got to know that when you come here that, there's not really much for you to do but play football.
Yeah, and I think I told my buddy, he's like, we don't have a single kid out of the top 15 in state. I was like, well, the 5-star linebacker out of Philadelphia probably makes up for it. So just kind of deal with it that way.
It's running back out of North Carolina.
Yeah, I was like, it's good to be you. Just take the win, man. Will, I always appreciate your time, man. Thanks so much.
All right, Chuck. Thanks for having me, man. You guys be good.
All right, Will Vandervoort again, Clemson Insider. So actually the only commit from the state of South Carolina that Clemson has right now, the 18th highest-ranked player in the state. And I will tell you, now again, the recruiting rankings aren't always spot on. I mean, my gosh, it's a projection. And you can go to Rivals, and that's great. You can go to, wherever you want to go. I usually go to the 24/7 Boil Down because they get that consensus, the average. The only player in the state of South Carolina that is committed to Clemson is Will Taylor. He's listed as an athlete from Columbia, South Carolina, as a matter of fact. Now, who is above that? This is the in-state recruiting for South Carolina this year. The top 2 recruits are 4-stars. The third highest rated recruit in the entire state is a 3-star wide receiver in the mid-80s, rating wise. And so Dabo's looking around. I told my boss, look, if he wanted a bunch of 3-star receivers, Dabo would pick them off easy. He would rather have the 5-star tight end from Texas or the 5-star wide receiver from Oregon, which is what Clemson can do right now. I had a guy in recruiting, and I mentioned this on the air, it was about 4 or 5 months ago. He said there are recruits, Chuck, that commit to Clemson and then wind up showing up and playing 4 years. That if they were when they were a high school senior, if you gave that kid $1,000 in 24 hours, he couldn't find his way to Clemson. They have no idea where it is. They don't know about it. But they love Dabo and the culture and the program and everything else, and they wind up going there. So don't worry about the in-state recruiting. That's just not where Clemson lives right now.
With a SunTrust checking account, stay on top of your money with all the right ingredients. Get free helpings to online resources and tools to help make your money grow. Manage your spending by receiving alerts. And help yourself to seconds on your money with cash back with SunTrust deals. Open an account today at suntrust.com/checking. Must have online banking to participate in SunTrust deals. SunTrust, now Truist. Member FDIC.
In the South, there's nothing better than fall and college football season. Whether your allegiance is to the red and black, crimson and white, or blue and orange, we can all find a little common ground on our beverage of choice, Larceny Bourbon. Larceny is 92 proof, small batch, Kentucky straight wheated bourbon, and it's so smooth it's criminal. So while everyone else is fighting over who stole the win, you can focus your time on some of the South's best bourbon in your favorite cocktail, on ice, or neat. Most importantly, Larceny reminds you to think wisely, drink wisely.
Hey guys, it's Joe Hamilton here with Brandon Addison from Low T Nation, and I'm the newest patient from Low T Nation.
That's right, man. Welcome aboard. You know, when guys become our age in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, they lose focus, they lose concentration, their energy levels are terrible, they start putting on fat, they start losing muscle, and that's what we specialize in fixing.
And if you can relate with any of that, check them out at lowtnation.com or call 866-FIX-LOW-T.
Ugh, I have to do laundry when I get home. I have to lug all my clothes over to the washing machine. Then I get to put them in the dryer and accidentally shrink my cashmere sweater again.
Motorcycles make everything exciting. And when Geico makes it easy to switch and save on motorcycle insurance, it's even more exciting.
I'm gonna fold all my socks into little balls! Yeah!
Geico Motorcycle. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
I received a call. I did not expect to hear the worst because she was very good at her job.
Cheryl worked with her daughter Kristen, who was killed in a highway work zone.
My first day back, and this older gentleman, and he actually bumped into me and had to explain my daughter just died last week.
When you approach a work zone, think of these real people. They're America's transportation workers, the beating heart of mobility. A reminder from the American Traffic Safety Services Foundation.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC paininfo. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Now back to Southern Sports Today and the Chuck Oliver Show.
Well, thank you to all the guests we had today. Certainly, Chris Landry is every Wednesday, bottom of hour one. Y'all know that. Just talking with Russ Mitchell as well from College Football News. Wrapped it up with some Clemson Tigers talk. Will Vandervoort from the Clemson Insider. As we wrap up today's show, we have some scheduling announcements. Not with our show. If it's Monday through Friday, we're here. With Michigan, for instance, we were referencing the Kirk Herbstreit had commented last night and then issued a video apology saying, wouldn't surprise me if Michigan just white flags it ahead of the Ohio State game because the Buckeyes just have to play. They need to win, but they have to play. Or the math just, they won't have enough games played to even consider the wins being good enough to get them in the playoffs. So they need to play. Michigan, Maryland for this weekend has been canceled because of COVID issues on the Michigan side. And there is growing thought that you're 10 days out from Michigan, Ohio State, that game is going to be bagged. That just no Ohio State. I don't even know if Ohio State's going to play this weekend. They're supposed to play Michigan State and then Michigan next weekend. Also, I want to mention about Florida State. We talked about this yesterday, I believe, that Florida State texted around to like 4 or 5 different folks that either cover the program or in Tallahassee, whatever. And was just kind of taking a poll on if we think Florida State's going to play again, because I don't believe Florida State will take the field again. I think there are going to be multiple teams, Michigan may be one of them, that it's not necessarily out of any sort of ne'er-do-well attitude, but I think that as we have gotten so close to the end of the season, it has now become much more of a discussable option. We only have one game left. We only have 2 games left. We have 41 players. Yeah, it's something like that. But Florida State, we talked about this yesterday. The ACC announced that they will schedule a game. Florida State at Duke, I want to say, is the 12th. And then maybe it's or is it Duke at Florida State and then Florida State at Wake Forest on the 19th. So they have actually scheduled 2 more games for Florida State. The ACC has, again, Duke and Wake Forest. I don't know if they're going to be played. I don't know if they're not. And I'm not rooting for it one way or the other. I'm just saying over the weekend, I started getting a lot of unsolicited information from folks down in Tallahassee who are supposed to know stuff, and that it wasn't like they're trying to get out of playing the season. They just don't know that they're going to be able to. So the ACC has announced, I think it was 7 or 8 games that they have repopulated the weekend of the 12th and then the weekend of the 19th. With I think there's maybe 7 games, and Florida State has 2 of those. So we'll see how it plays out. That's going to be my closing argument, brought to you by the law offices of Alexander, Shinar, and Associates. Wherever you're at in the Deep South, doesn't matter if it's Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, wherever. If you need legal expertise, you need Alexander, Shannara, and Associates. Dan, what up?
Not much. And, I got to tell you, if Alabama and Florida hold chalk this weekend, I wouldn't be surprised if Greg Sankey says, hey, sorry, or at least who they were supposed to play the following week, if that one gets moved to somebody else, or they just say, hey, you got your 9 games. You'll get your 10th in Atlanta. Then go try to win us a national title.
You get a bye week on the 12th?
Exactly. Why would you have them play that game when they've got it locked up and you know
that's what the ACC did with their schedule readjustment, didn't it? They gave Clemson and Notre Dame.
Notre Dame is not losing this weekend to Syracuse, and Clemson's not going to lose their game. So it's a foregone conclusion. And as much as being the LSU fan I am,
absolutely
the professional tells me that Alabama's going in there and winning that game, and same with Florida up in Knoxville. Hey, it's funny to kind of go off of what you and Russ were talking about earlier about the opt-outs now is I don't think, like you just talked about, we're going to have the teams doing that because we're not going to have that post-COVID. But what I do think we're going to have, and especially the coaches who are a little bit more secure in their jobs, you can go ahead. There's no need for you to finish out the season. There's no need for you to play in the Birmingham Bowl. Let me figure out what player X, Y, and Z have while they're in that 4-game window, so I can go ahead and start planning for next year, so I can give myself a better opportunity at an extension and everything else. Some people might say that's selfish, but guess what? Coaches got to look out for themselves too.
Yeah, I think that, and in any normal year, I've said that, like, when Christian McCaffrey opts out of the bowl game, it actually was doing a favor to David Shaw. It forced him to debut the next guy. I think just raw numbers, you literally need every single available body if you're even going to consider a bowl game. All right, wraps it up on a Wednesday, folks. I promise you I'll be back in 22 hours with more college football conversation right here on The Chuck Oliver Show.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available.